getting started here, buddy.
Nation's capital! It's a new day in America. The people of America spoke on November the 2nd, right? Unfortunately, and I know you're stunned to hear this, some in Washington, D.C. have not yet listened to the new reality. Are you shocked by that? No! But there's good news. Nancy Pelosi is apparently going to be the minority leader in the House come next year. So we welcome her back and her agenda back because we know that the American people have utterly rejected that big government, big spending, Washington knows best approach. Is that right? I thought so. One of the questions, and by the way, thank all of you for coming up. I know many of you drove long distances. I know there's a group from Florida. Where are the Florida AFP guys? Over here in Georgia. Where's Georgia? I know Pennsylvania's here. Something tells me Dallas Woodhouse and the North Carolinians are here. And I know the Commonwealth of Virginia is represented. We even have some folks come up from New Hampshire and New Jersey across this great country. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Maryland. I'm sorry, I'm in big trouble. New York's here as well. Thank you guys for coming out. Because we said for the last year, Arizona, excuse me, I'm sorry. I know it, Americans for Prosperity. We said for the last year, this is not about one election, right? It's not about a short-term goal. It's about genuinely taking our nation in a new direction toward freedom and prosperity. We know that's what this is about. And one of the questions that I heard most often on the road, whether it was in Dover, Ohio, or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it didn't matter where. One of the questions I heard most often was this. People would walk up and they would say, Tim, do you think the Republicans have learned their lesson from the early 2000s? You would hear that over and over. And my answer would be, whether they have or not, we're going to hold them accountable every single day. And so, in that spirit, our first guest is here today. Tomorrow is a crucial vote. These pork barrel earmarks are the very symbol of excess and arrogance and big spending and corruption in Washington. They really are. We've seen the people who go to jail over this. We've seen the spending and the waste and the abuse with our tax dollars. Well, I think tomorrow the Senate Republican caucus is going to vote on a motion by Senator Jim Demint, our champion in the United States. Tomorrow, the Republicans in the Senate are going to start answering that question, have we learned our lessons? Are we going to go a different way? And so please welcome our free market champion, Jim Demint!
Thank you. As long as you're here, the people in these buildings, the building behind me, all over Capitol Hill, know this is a government of the people and for the people and by the people. That's something that had been forgotten here for years. But last year we saw the power wrestled out of the hands of politicians and back into the hands of the American people, and it's because of you and what you've done. All over the country, people have stood up. They've taken to the streets, they've spoken out, they've said enough's enough, and we had politicians quaking in their boots going into the last election. And there was a reason for them to be afraid. Everything has changed here in Washington. I think people are listening. People like Mike Pence in the House who are leading the House. And Michelle Bachmann, who I think will be going to lead the way and pass good legislation, the bold colors that Reagan talked about that would inspire Americans, that demonstrate we have gotten the message and that we believe in freedom in this country. And they're going to send that kind of legislation over the Senate. And this time, instead of saying no, we can say yes. We can challenge the Democrats and the president to do what's right for this country. But as Tim says, this is just the beginning. 2012 is going to make what just happened look small if we continue. Tim is right. If we can't decide as a federal government that it's not our job to pave local parking lots and build local museums, then we don't understand what constitutional limited government is. If the Senate Republicans fail to pass a ban on earmarks tomorrow, obviously they have not gotten the message. I'm optimistic that they have. There's a lot of pressure on some of them to cave in. But I think you're going to see a bold new group of Republicans. I was with a lot of them last night, and a lot of you helped send them. And you know people like Pat Toomey and Marco Rubio and Mike Lee from Utah and Ron Johnson. And folks, we've got people, young people, two of them 39 years old, that are going to lower the age in the Senate by 10 years. This is because of you. It's not because of a party or an organization. It's because one American at a time has realized that our future, our very freedom, everything we've hoped for in this country is in the hands of individual Americans, not in the people who vote in this Capitol every day. And if we remember that, if we expand what you started every day over the next few years, get average people engaged in what's going on here, it's going to keep these people accountable. They're going to keep listening. We're going to have more voices speaking for you. And we're going to bring this country away from the edge of the financial cliff that it's on and restore a lot of those freedoms that all of us believe in. But folks, the only reason I'm here today, and a lot of you thanked me on the way in, is I'm here to thank you because what you've done have given us, me, Mike Pence, Michelle, others, the power to change things. Because the only power we have here in Washington is the power of ideas and the millions of people who are standing behind it. So